Hello and salutations, my fellow philosophers. Welcome back to the Philos-Hippie podcast, in which we explore the intersection of philosophy and spirituality so that we can live more holistic and meaningful secular lives. Even though the leaves haven't begun to bud yet, it sure feels like spring around here right now. Spring is springing up right around the corner. Spring is a time where we dust off our winter coziness and leave the warm embrace of the fire so that we can enter into the warm embrace of life itself. Spring is personally my favorite season because of the rejuvenating and vibrant energy it brings. And in this episode, I want to share that life affirming energy. So, in this mini episode of the podcast, I just wanted to share some reflections and ideas that highlight the philosophical dimension of spring and also illustrate how nature can be a teacher for us during this period. And in the spirit of the travel arc I am doing for this channel right now in the Philos-Hippie podcast, let's travel to the other side of the globe so that we can learn from the wise sages of Japan and Eastern philosophy in general. I apologize in advance for the butchering of this name. According to the modern philosopher Asal Fallahnejad in her research paper, Spring in Japanese Philosophy, a comparative exploration with no roots, she writes that, quote, the spring equinox, known as Shunbun no Hi, holds a significant position in Japanese culture, transcending its practical role in agrarian societies as marker of seasonal change. This day, characterized by an equal duration of daylight and darkness, is interpreted as a profound symbol of balance and harmony. It represents the equilibrium between opposing forces, such as yin and yang, and the delicate interplay between light and darkness. This understanding of the equinox as a point of equilibrium suggests a deeper philosophical appreciation for balance as a fundamental principle governing the natural order and potentially influencing human existence. The shift from the imbalance of winter towards the restored equilibrium of spring signifies return to a natural, harmonious state. End quote. Many Japanese traditions emphasize the inherent harmonization that spring brings. The darkness of winter is finally beginning to subside as the sun continues to linger in the sky longer and longer until it achieves complete balance between light and dark. There is something almost metaphysical about that kind of balance. Not merely astronomical, but rather something existential. For a brief moment, the whole world is resting in complete and utter equanimity. But as is the nature of everything, this is only temporary. A central concept in Japanese aesthetic and philosophical thought is their concept called mono no aware. In English, it is translated as the pathos of things, or a sensitivity to ephemera, and is meant to describe the bittersweet, almost melancholic-like awareness of the fleeting nature of life and beauty. Fallahnejad writes that, quote, the concept of mono no aware translates to a profound sensitivity towards the ephemeral nature of existence and a poignant appreciation for the beauty found in transient things. This concept encourages a deep emotional engagement with the fleeting beauty of the world, fostering an awareness of the impermanent quality of all phenomena. Mono no aware represents a distinctive philosophical stance that promotes not just acceptance, but a profound appreciation for the transient nature of existence and discovering beauty within it. End quote. This idea arose out of Japanese culture's deep appreciation and fondness for the cherry blossom tree. Native to Japan, the cherry blossom, or sakura, lasts only at max 1 or 2 weeks, peaking 4 to 7 days after budding. The cherry blossom is the most profound symbol of spring in Japanese culture because it truly captures the essence of mono no aware. It serves as a powerful reminder of life's inherent impermanence. This has served to deepen all of Japan's connection with nature. In Japanese culture, the changing seasons are not merely viewed as the environment shifting and leaves changing, but the transition of seasons are deeply woven into the fabric of Japanese life, influencing art, literature, customs, and even spiritual beliefs. I think there is something deeply instructive about that, because in the West, we often treat nature just as background scenery. It is something we hike through so that we can stamp our postcards and post about it online and then return from it fundamentally unchanged. But in Japanese thought, the seasons are not decoration. They are participation. The seasons shape the inner life as much as the outer landscape. Spring, in that sense, is not just a meteorological shift. It is rather an existential invitation. When the sakura or cherry blossom blooms, people gather beneath them not to simply admire them, but to dwell and to linger with them. The yearly Japanese Spring Festival is a nationwide ritual of attention, a communal pause, an acknowledgement that what is beautiful will not remain. And instead of reacting with anxiety or denial that life is fundamentally fleeting, there is gratitude, there is celebration for the present moment. So what would it mean for us to approach our own lives that way during the spring? In Japan, the philosophy of Oubaitori provides some unique insight into this regard. According to Fallahnejad, quote, "The philosophy of Oubaitori offers a unique perspective on the season of spring, emphasizing the beauty of individual blooming and growth occurring at one's own distinct pace. Drawing a parallel between human development and the natural progression of spring flowers like the cherry, peach, apricot, and plume blossoms, Oubaitori suggests that each individual, like each flower, it possesses its own unique timing and inherent beauty. This philosophy promotes non-competition and encourages self-acceptance, recognizing that true fulfillment comes from focusing on one's own path and striving to be the best version of oneself rather than being encumbered by comparisons to others. Oubaitori provides a philosophical framework for understanding individual growth and development in parallel with the natural unfolding of spring, promoting patience and self-acceptance, which aligns with broader themes of harmony and non-competition in some aspects of Japanese thought." End quote. This is such a fascinating and inspiring concept to me. Oubaitori in Japanese is composed of 4 characters, which are literally just the characters for the cherry, peach, apricot, and plume blossoms that are native to Japan. They all grow and blossom in different times and circumstances, while always adhering to its own path of development. And that's exactly how it is for us, too. We often get mired down in the muck of other people's expectations and comparisons that we forget that people grow at their own rate. You can't yell at a flower to make it blossom quicker. That simply isn't how this works. In our culture of keeping up with the Joneses, we frequently ask ourselves, am I successful? Or am I as far along as they are? And we never ask ourselves, am I becoming more fully myself? Humans can only grow at a rate that is natural to them. It's very Taoist in principle. When you walk through a grove of cherry, plume, peach, and apricot trees, there is no hierarchy, only complexity. The plume tree does not blossom too early, and the leaves of the cherry blossom do not wilt away too quickly. Their timing is not a moral category, and that sounds obvious until you apply it to human life. Some people find their vocation at 20, some at 40, and some in their very last days, just like Dostoevsky's character Ivan Ilyich. Some winters in our lives are brief and transitional, while others are long and seemingly never-ending. The philosophy of Oubaitori is not saying that everyone is equally skilled at the same thing. It is not denying difference, but normalizing diversity. Because spring does not bloom all at once. One patch of ground is green while another remains frozen. But given time, the pattern ultimately reveals itself. And maybe our lives are similar. We compare the length of our tree branches to someone else's and think something is wrong with us, even though we are simply under the dictate of our own personal natures. The philosophy of Oubaitori suggests that fulfillment is not found in accelerating or forcing your growth to match someone else's, but in more holistically aligning yourself with your own conditions, your own soil, and your own light. And maybe that is the quiet wisdom spring is offering us. Because when I sit still with all of this, what lingers for me is how unhurried the seasons are. The spring equinox reminds us that balance exists, albeit only briefly. Light and darkness meet as equals in one glorious moment, and then they part again. Mono no Aware asks us not to cling to that balance when it shifts, but to feel its beauty precisely because it won't last. And Oubaitori grounds it all in something personal. The cherry, plume, peach, and apricot blossom all unfold in their own time with its own logic. Spring does not arrive all at once, and it does not bloom evenly. There is no moral hierarchy in nature, just diversity endlessly complexifying. Together, these ideas form a philosophy as a way of life that we can bring with us into spring. So, as spring approaches this year, take a moment of stillness to watch the sunset begin to linger just a little longer every day. Notice what inside of you is budding and what is still dormant, and respect your inner nature. Allow your inner beauty to simply be without any demand, and allow your own growth to organically grow just as the flowers and just as the trees do. Now, thank you once again for listening to the Philosophy Podcast, my fellow philosophers. I hope you enjoyed it and that you found it enlightening. And if you like this type of content, make sure to subscribe to the Philosophy Podcast and come back every Friday for new videos. And in case you hadn't noticed by now, I have been kind of experimenting with the video length format here on the podcast, where I do a long video one week and then a shorter video the next. This just helps me to just pace out my episodes and give me the extra time I need to read and conduct quality research into what I'm currently studying. And because of that, these shorter videos aren't as research driven, albeit this one, and are more so just shorter reflections of everyday life I have. So if you like this kind of format or not, let me know in the comments below, because I'm still experimenting and I would love to hear your thoughts. And until next time, I wish you all boundless wisdom and metta. Peace.